Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying your summer. It's Adrienne. Thanks for checking out my channel. In this episode, I discuss some of the trends we're seeing with people thinking celibacy is sexy and how there are a lot of young people fed up with their romantic storylines. They'd rather see more friendship, more platonic relationships in TV and movies. Enjoy this episode and remember to hit subscribe. I appreciate you watching. See ya.
In the headlines again, celebrities are talking about celibacy with the likes of Lenny Kravitz, Julia Fox, and now Tamar Braxton. They're foregoing sex, some eliminating dating altogether, even no kissing, to focus on self-improvement. Some are saying it's a political movement in response to last year's 2024's election. We also have, of course, people culturally saying that this is something that's for their personal health or mental health. This is from an op-ed from The Guardian. It says, whereas celibacy used to be associated with purity culture, promise rings, and evangelical youth, now a woman might enter her celibacy era due to slim romantic pickings or as a protest against misogyny, end quote. Even if you don't think it has anything to do with religion, which is what a lot of people are saying, that it's more on focusing on other relationships, platonic relationships, or relationship with self instead of romance, there's a soul connection. Some are even talking about that soul connection with sex. Tiffany Haddish, actress and comedian, she admitted to abstaining from sex and drinking following a DUI arrest. She said in an interview, quote, when you lay down with somebody, you're sharing your soul, you're sharing a piece of yourself, you're giving a little piece of yourself up. We have taught sex education as predominantly physical, but there are soul ties. There are emotional ties, psychological, physiological, mental, and spiritual, born from who you lay down with. And sex, just having fun sex, doesn't heal deep wounds. Most of us can attest to trying to patch up a void, internal trauma, depression, or a general feeling of being bored with life or uninterested with life not going the way we want it to with a one night or whirlwind intimate encounter. But it's not a Band-Aid and it never was meant to be one. The celibacy trend is happening, of course, as I mentioned, for different reasons. But here's something that I found really interesting that hasn't really been brought up in context to this movement. There's a UCLA study that showed nearly 45% of young people surveyed think that romance and sex scenes are shown too much in media and are often not relevant to the plot of most TV shows and movies. The co-authors of the study say storylines about how romance is necessary for happiness and love triangles is just becoming quite stale. Are you surprised? The researchers actually found that young people are suffering from an epidemic of loneliness. And here's something that the lead researcher said. She said that young people are seeking modeling in the art they consume. They're actually looking for role models. They're looking for people to represent what they would want their life to be like. And while some storytellers are using sex and romance as a shortcut to character connection, it's important for Hollywood to recognize adolescents want stories that reflect the full spectrum of relationships. More than half, 51.5 to be exact, of those surveyed, aged 13 years old to 24, they want more TV and movies featuring friendships and platonic connections. Perhaps society is seeing this big pendulum swing, right, towards celibacy because it's been so saturated with sex. And there's more of a connection to healthy, holistic relationships and a healthy sex life. I mean, really, how many times have you thought, maybe your mom told you, your grandma told you, your friends told you, if you're not going to be happy single, then you're not going to be happy married. Statistics are showing some deeply concerning trends in the last few years surrounding men who are themselves going through this extreme epidemic of loneliness. The Survey Center on American Life reports that only a quarter of all men surveyed have 6 close friends they can count on. 15% of all men surveyed say they have no close friends, 0. The numbers worsen. It's a larger percentage of men if they're unmarried. 1 in 5 single men have 0 close friendships, and many of them never moved out of their parents' home. They remain with mom and dad at older ages than ever before. The 18 to 29-year-olds studied on average do not prioritize making any kind of relational bonds outside of the house. This is all a part of what's being called and what has been called a friendship recession. Stick with me now. We're still talking about celibacy. Today, many men and women have fewer close friends or people to turn to in times of need. You and I both know somebody who's turned to a romantic interest in times of need rather than a friend. It's never really healthy. But in addition to these trends with men, we're seeing trends with women. Fewer girlfriend and peer relationships among women, specifically those who are upwardly mobile. A recent survey finds 60% of women feel lonely and isolated as their careers progress and they climb the ladder, with nearly all of those women in senior level positions who feel lonely admitting to behaviors like taking illegal drugs, gambling, overspending, or over-exercising to cope. So there's all this talk in the culture about social skills, mental health, emotional aptitude, empathy in the space of self-improvement. But friendlessness is beginning to define generations. The average amount of time spent alone for all of us has gone up. A YouGov poll finding more than 1 in 4 millennials have no close friends. That's 25% of millennials. Nearly 1/3 of millennials surveyed say they always or often feel lonely, even with friends. 15% of Gen Xers and 9% of baby boomers lack close friendships. So we're looking at it cross-generationally, across the board. People are losing touch with friends, which has been shown to make you a happier, healthier human. U.S. Surgeon General, the previous U.S. Surgeon General, he issued an urgent advisory in the last few years after about a decade or more of study. Dr. Vivek Murthy's work finds those with social connections are able to handle stress more effectively. They're more likely to ward off disease, including chronic inflammation, a chance of heart attack, or high blood pressure, all because of their pro-social connections. It's something that we need to connect the dots with. There's scientific evidence of a proven positive impact, both mentally and physically, when you have friendships. It seems like a no-brainer. When people are more satisfied mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in a community, it's their inner self can have better relationships, including romantic ones. Sacred sex can happen when you actually are healed on the inside. There is a term in the Bible, this inner person of the heart. For those of you who've never read the scripture, that's your spirit. It's who you really are. It's your identity. It's this gentleness inside of you, this spiritual beauty. It's what makes up your personality, the true you. And in one sense, when you read scripture, it's like the part of you that only God can really know. And that you're encouraged to get to know who you are by God, according to scripture. There are some who are not pleased with Bibles being returned to schools. They think that there's this line that should be drawn between church and state, between education and the spiritual or faith life. But for many people, they were raised knowing tenets of working on the inside, that this could at least be something that we talk about culturally. Maybe even in sex ed classes. Maybe in sex ed, we need to start having soul ed or relationship education so that celibacy is not response to baggage, but a way to really discuss the health benefits of abstaining before the heartbreak as adults or even teenagers. I think that for a lot of scientists, they've seen the health benefits of celibacy and now we're looking at it. But if we were to actually innovate conversation around celibacy without categorizing purity or promise rings as negative, we might be able to change the way that people see themselves, about the relationships they choose, and about how we all as a society prepare this generation that has been undoubtedly been inundated with sexual imagery, and that we might grow our culture to actually involve more well-adapted and more invested humans.